All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Audio Network. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me today, little change of pace, Steve Hungarter, IDP Hunter himself, joining me for both sides of waivers this week. Unfortunately, Corey was not able to jump in for the offensive stuff. Got his notes, so we're going to run through it. But how you doing tonight, Steve?
Good. I'm doing great. How about yourself, Joe?
Oh, hanging in there, watching a few of my teams go up in flames. Alvin Kamara, goodbye. Thank you. Even though I got through this week in that league, that's not looking good next week. So
Yeah,
it is what it
injuries.
is,
A
man. It's
lot of
it's it's the playoffs, man. It'll kill you for sure in at this time of the year. So such is life, right?
right.
What do you do? So all right, well let's get this show on the road. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to do multiple things at the same
Oh,
time.
you're
Not
good,
working.
Joe. You're good. But for every curse, there's a blessing, right, Joe? So we said our teams are in flames. There's injuries. Well, guess what? There's a replacement for those injuries. Hence, here comes the waiver wire, right?
Yes. So first up,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of Alvin Kamara, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Kendre Miller had a little bit of had some momentum coming into this week already. Honestly, like he was already like an automatic. We mentioned it last week. He was a guy who we said you absolutely have to go get, especially if you're a Kamara owner. He was looking like a true handcuff at this point. You weren't starting him. 10 carries, unless you fell into the end zone, you weren't really going to get much from him. Now with Kamara out, it is looking like he is going to be the one to go here. What's up, Albert? Good seeing you again. Looking like he's going to be suiting up here and being the starter in Week 16 for your semifinals. I would say we probably wouldn't want to start him, and you probably don't. The Saints' offense is bad. It's
Right.
not good, but he is looking a lot better than I thought we would ever see him look. I was pretty much I was holding on to him in a dynasty league, and it was getting down to the last leg, man. Like I wasn't really sure if he was gonna make it onto my team next season. Like he was gonna be one of the first cuts for sure. If he did not make anything happen this year, he was gone. But we'll see. This is gonna be a good spot for him to be able to to get out here and make some noise. I feel like so.
Right.
Um,
I agree,
any
Joe.
yeah
Yeah, I was
yeah
just going to say I've cut him sadly in a couple places, but right now I wouldn't trust him as a starter. But flex appeals, I guess, the key word. If I have a flex spot, he's probably going in it, especially this week.
yeah, and I mean, if you lost Kamara like I did, I think you probably don't have a lot of other better backup options. If you do, like you got one hell of a team. But I
I
know
mean,
I do not. Kamara will absolutely be my lineup next week in that league. So um, next up here on the docket, we've got another injury replacement, and Jerome Ford here is the guy that we're all looking at here to fill in for now Nick Chubb with the unfortunate injury. And the stats I put up on the screen were all of Jerome Ford's games without Nick Chubb this season. And nothing crazy good. Again, kind of falls in line in like kind of flex appeal. You know, gets actually some decent targets out of the backfield. So in PPR, I would say that's actually going in his favor. But it this offense will also be interesting. We're hearing rumors now already that Winston may not be the quarterback going forward. Looking like it's going to be Dorian, uh, whatever his name is, Dorian Thompson, whatever it, yeah, long name. It looks like it's going to be him under center, which really not good, man. It's really not good. So, uh, yeah, and look, Chad brings up a good point. These numbers do are with Deshaun Watson, and that offense was even worse with Watson there. Although I just don't really know if it's going to be that much better with DTR there, man. Like he's just not a good quarterback in my opinion. And as much as Winston had a horrible game against Kansas City, and we know Winston's gonna, throw 3 picks a game, right? That's what he does. He typically figures it out and throws for 300 yards and a couple touchdowns at the same time and keeps that offense moving. This week was just bad. So,
but
what are you gonna do?
Who had a good game against the Chiefs? Winston might have had a bad game, but Jerome Ford, again, 2 catches, 104 yards, touchdown, 18.4 points a game, at least the leagues I play in. You go in non-point PPR. He's not a Nick Chubb, but the rest of the season. But, I mean, you can definitely count him as a lead back. And your little IDP chart that tells you what teams give up points for stuff, it also works both ways. It works for offense, too. If you look at Joe Bond's IDP by position, guess who bleeds? Guess who bleeds to running backs? The Bengals. So he'll be a big waiver.
Well, they bleed to everything. That is a defense to target. It'll be interesting. And look, there's been a lot later. There's been a lot of running back injuries lately. So there's some teams kind of limping into the playoffs here with running backs, and I'm sure Jerome Ford will be on some rosters, and you're just hoping and praying that the matchup works in his favor. So moving on here, next up we got Malik.
It's the greatest way to play. Build your team on wide receivers, elite wide receivers, and scoop these guys up at the end of the year. That's how you win leagues.
I mean, I will say this year that would not have worked out as well until now. But you may not have gotten this far with that. Like, you needed the Derrick Henry, the Joe Mixons, and the Saquons, who all busted this week in comparison to what they were. Like, I have a team with both Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon on it. I'm out.
Good.
I'm out because they both sucked this week. What do you do about that? Nothing. So
what you're telling us here is you go home with whoever takes you to the prom. That's who you go with.
Sure. All right, next up here we got Malik Washington from the Miami Dolphins. And look, this is another one popping up here because of injuries. Jalen Waddle looking like he's not going to be good to go going forward here. Malik Washington has been a special teams guy. He's been making big plays. And so in the Scott Fishbowl 14 leagues, you love that because you get the return yards from him. But this past week, Waddle went out early. Washington had 6 targets, caught 5 for 52. Nothing great. But hey, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point with some of these waiver guys. I mean, this is what's out there. We're not looking at guys rostered in 75% of leagues. Like if you got some guys sitting out there on your waiver wire that are better than Malik Washington, absolutely go for it. But I would at least pick him up. And look, you're in dire straits with some receivers. Maybe Malik Washington started a dart throw here that you can go for. Chad, I'll get you a question in a minute. But what's your thoughts here, Steve?
You said it. He's not owned in a lot of places. I just looked it up. You know how many places he has rostered? 0.
Probably like 0%
of leagues. I only know him because, as you know, I get hardcore with rookie profiles and stuff. I like to know how these players move around and whatnot. The Dolphins are using him as a direct replacement for Waddle. So if Waddle cannot play week 16, this is going to be your guy. I like the fact that he's getting a lot of snaps, routes, targets. Mm-hmm. He's second on a team for that. So he's going to be on the field. Again, another flex. I guess the right expression here would be smoke him if you got him.
Yeah.
You heard that one.
Yeah. Next up here, Brenton Strange. I mean, this is a definite strange waiver wire, man, for sure. But Brenton Strange, man, look, we are all dying at tight ends again. We thought it was starting to pick back up, and it is not. You give me a tight end that's getting 12 targets, I'm all in, man. Picked him up in a PPR league this past week because Njoku was out, and I was like, why not? Ingram was gone. I figured, hey, can't be much worse than, it was either like him or like Calcaterra, or whatever his name is, or I could have picked up, I don't know. I think I could have picked up like Noah Gray. And I was like, you know what? I know what those guys are going to do. Let's try some Brenton Strange. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. So PPR monster there with 11 receptions. You know, I don't think we're going to get a lot of scoring opportunities from that Jags offense, but they like to check down to their tight ends for sure. I do have a question here from Chad. What do we think about the Packers wide receiver carousel? Is Dobbs back on top?
I think carousel's the right answer.
I mean, I've been saying it all along, man. Like, good luck figuring out which receiver every week is going to be the guy. It has been this all season long, and I've just kind of wanted to stay away from it because of that. Because you're going to get almost more dud weeks than weeks like this, where look, in reality, like Dobbs didn't really have that good of a game. He just caught 2 touchdowns. The targets weren't there. The yards really weren't there. It was just he just caught 2 touchdowns. This is reminiscent of Reed a couple weeks ago. 3 catches, like 12 yards and 2 touchdowns. You can't rely on that.
So on my podcast with Jamie, we did a player prop bet, and I actually did one, and he did the opposite. It was when the Packers played the Lions. I had Romeo Dobbs going under 49. He had over. And we're like,
did we lose?
like, Steve? Well, I don't understand. I go, well, hear me out. The Lions been doing all this stuff all year. I go, but hear me out. The Packers, and this answers your question too, my friend. The Packers spread the ball around. That's all they do is spread the ball around. So if you're in man coverage, stuff like that, he's going to get a sprinkle. He's going to get a sprinkle. Watson's going to get a lot. I can't call it. I can't tell you the number one.
Yeah.
So that was I actually won the bet on that log.
Yeah. It's maddening, man. It's so, you know, and to the second part of this question, like, do you start him over, you know, do you play him over Marvin Harrison Jr.? I don't know. I'm gonna go with no. My rankings will absolutely.
I don't think I would
over Dobbs every single week.
Yeah,
you at least know Harrison's like the top dog there. It just doesn't always work. It's just unfortunate. Like, it's just not working out as well as we hoped with that. So next up here, oops, I don't know what I just did. Yeah, I literally have no idea. Oh, okay, all right, got that to go away. Cool. Jalen McMillan here, the Tampa Bay Bucks. Corey put him in the best of the rest last week, and now this week he gets promoted up to the top 6. And the reason being last week was he played well, but we wanted to see it again because he's been very inconsistent, not heavily utilized overall more than anything. And you know, Mike Evans was the top guy, obviously, but then in reality, it's been Sterling Shepard more than Jalen McMillan. So the last 2 weeks now, though, he's been good. Like, he caught 2 touchdowns the week prior. This past week, he caught another one. So Tampa's got a really good schedule down the stretch. And so Jalen McMillan can be a sneaky, sneaky good play the rest of the way. So I like this one a lot.
Yeah, you just said it. He's had 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. So he's hot on touchdowns. That's what he does. So, yeah, if you need another flex, I finished 6 targets. That's 6 targets, 5 receptions. Like you, I just need to see it a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not putting him in my wide receiver 2 spot most likely, but he can be thrown into a flex hope. But I mean, look, the schedule the next 2 weeks for the Bucks, they get Dallas and they get Carolina. Those are okay. Those are okay matchups. You know what I mean? So like I know Dallas is playing a little bit better on defense, but I'm still not there yet with them. So last up here we got Tyjae Spears, a guy who's not really getting a lot of work in like the run game, but you look at his receptions there and his targets. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 87 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's a running back getting receiver work, like straight up receiver number work. That's going to carry you. You're gonna like that production there from a running back who, again, we're all dealing with a lot of running back issues right now. Kamara, we just lost Montgomery. There's some there's some guys that have been hurt the last couple of weeks. So Tyjae Spears might be somebody who you can look at and just hope that he's going to stay involved in this passing game, because otherwise, like, the run game for him is just not working. We know that's all going to Pollard. So, any thoughts?
I read
on
something
that one,
interesting, Joe. I just wanted to share. Yeah, I just wanted to share with your audience. I found this interesting with Pollard. He played 39 of the team's total 70 snaps. I'm a snaps guy, but in the fourth quarter specifically, he played 19 of his team's 20% snaps. So what does that mean altogether? Hey, they're going to rely on him, especially when Pollard's out. And again, we are only to assume that he's going to miss some time.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's it for the offensive side of the waivers. We're going to jump into the Steve side of the game here and jump into some IDP, and he doesn't actually know what order I put these in, so surprise.
Surprise.
Try to lead the tea leaves from our messages earlier. We know how that was going with us.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, it's like those dum-dums. Remember those dum-dum lollipops when you're a kid? You go in a bag, you don't know if you're getting root. It's a mystery. I'm getting a mystery right now. You just don't know.
You might actually get the mystery lollipop this time.
Those are actually pretty good. I'd rather that than them wine ones. Screw that.
All right, so we're gonna start with the cover man, Nakobe Dean of the Philadelphia Eagles. I put his last 2 weeks up here, but I think you've got some more to talk about than just that.
Yeah, he's interesting, and I'm not gonna lie. We've had a lot of success. Our little IDP department, your IDP department, Joe. They're back there with the latest technology. They have the rotary telephones and the typewriters. They're working day and night to get this stuff in. We had a lot of calls this year. We kind of punted on Dean. To be fair, he wasn't really giving us much. But right now, Dean is your guy. I'm going to go back 5 games for you, Joe. I know you got 2. I'm going to go back 5. The last 5 games total, he's produced 50 tackles. Okay, 50 tackles, okay? He's getting 93% of snaps last week, followed by last week before he had 97% of snaps. Granted, he gets kind of frowned upon. He's only owned in 32% of leagues, so you can get him for playoffs. Okay, he's frowned upon because he's not the LB1 there. That belongs to Zach Bond. He's been the team's LB1 since the last preseason game, But he's going to roll right around side him. He has his own role, and just to make sure we're not reading box snaps, because we know we hate to see that. He's actually been doing it. If you watch film and you watch the tape and you watch, he's had double-digit tackles 4 of the last 5 games. The reason I put him up and the reason why we're leading away with this one, audience, week 16, he's got the Washington Commanders. Joe Bond knows about Washington, does he not? Joe can tell you himself they're ranked 3rd in the league with 156.9 rushing yards per game. I had to look that up. I knew the Commanders were really good on offense. I wasn't that certain that they were like that dominant running. I knew they were top 5 or 10. I didn't know they were top 3, but they're also tied for 8th in yards per carry. And it's safe to expect that we should see Dean very, very busy this week. Rivalry game, of course, too. So I like Dean as a solid. He's probably gonna be in a lot of playoff winning teams lineups this week.
Yeah, I mean, when you got a team who likes to run the ball like that, lots of opportunities for tackles, which is what Nakobe Dean seems to be cleaning up on right now. So, like that call there. Next up here, I'm gonna let you present this one because I can't pronounce his name. Arnold.
Yeah, I'm the worst at this too. I'm going to try myself. Arnold Ebiketie. That's the way
sounds better than me.
Mm-hmm. But this guy here, a lot of us know him as a dynasty stash. Profiled him as a rookie a couple of years ago. He actually came out of college with promise. These edge guys, these 3-4 edge guys, 4-3 linebacker slashes, they're all scheme dependent. He was a 3-4 linebacker, and he was, highly regarded, gets drafted by the Falcons, who switched to 4-3. So he was just dead to everyone last year. This year they switched to 3-4, but it took him forever to get in the field to finally get a look. So they've started using him lately, and he's been booming. So I have this stat for you in the audience. I just want to kind of read this to you. The Falcons, as everyone knows, they've been struggling all year with pass rushing, right? Turns out the last few games, right, they've had 10 sacks over the last 3 games. 10. Team went from nothing to 10. Arnold Ebiketie is a huge contributing factor of this. Out of those 10 sacks, he produced 4 of them. So he's 4 out of 10. He's 40% of the whole team's defense, Yeah.
That's not counting tonight, by the way. So
Right. Coming into week 16, I'm looking ahead to week 16. He's got a great matchup to produce. According to Joe Bond's fantasy six-pack IDP points against chart, according to the IDP department, they're back there with their typewriters and walkie-talkies. They're calling us into me, right? The Falcons face the Raiders in week 16.
Morse code.
Right? The Morse code, they're on the thing, they're tapping it. You got me going now. But the Falcons face the Raiders week 16. We know they're bad, man. Right? They've allowed the 8th most in sacks this season with 43. So he's got an excellent matchup. And we haven't even talked about tonight because we don't know. That's the mystery lollipop in the bag. But Arnold Ebiketie owned in only 8% of leagues. He's going to be on lineups, and he's going to be easy to pick up for a lot of playoff advancing teams.
Look, I know I don't play IDP, but I do play with defenses in a few leagues. I've stashed the Falcons defense for these next couple of weeks. Their matchups are fantastic. It starts with the Raiders, and I'm kind of blanking on who they play next after that, but it's
so you use your chart too, right?
A little bit.
You're not just
they get So they get the Raiders they get the Raiders tonight, then they get the Giants next week. So that's who they get in week 16. Then I'm going to drop them because I don't want to play them in week 17 against the Commanders. No thanks.
Joe, you don't remember the commercial, the hair club for men? I'm not just the president, I'm also the client.
Yeah,
that's you with the chart. Like, hey, I'm also using the client too.
Look, I wouldn't put stuff on the site that I wouldn't use myself. I'm not going to just be like, oh, this stuff sucks, but here, you guys can have it anyway. By the way, it's Ebiketie.
Okay, hey, we're close. Sure. I don't know.
Thanks, Pro Football Reference.
Trying to pronounce people's names.
So
I'm not the best.
I'm horrible at it. Pro Football Reference, their pronunciation guides. I love it. Next up, and I don't know why this did not load.
That's good. Cool. We can talk Zach. Zach Sieler. I use him more as a DL2, and I'll tell you why in a second. He's actually earned AFC Defensive Player of the Week this week, and he's on a Pro Bowl level. Zach, he's been, recent weeks, I'm just going to read him to you. He's been a DL3, a DL24, a DL12. This week he was DL23. That's the last 4 games. So he's highly startable. A lot of people out there playing 12-team start 2 DLs. So that's a guy you can have and get adequate DL2 stats. He added 1.5 sacks to his total this week. And again, he's got a solid matchup against the 49ers. Now, on paper, it doesn't look solid. So allow me to explain. Yes, the 49ers are average, against the pass, what have you. But they're suspect in the interior. And the Rams exposed that. The Rams took Brock Purdy down inside for 3 sacks. So, if this guy can do it, I'm pretty sure defensive tackle Kobe Turner, I think he got 2 out of that. But, again, if the Rams can do it, the Dolphins are certainly close to that, especially when you're going to have to block all the guys on the edge, like the Chop Robinson's another great waiver pickup and what have you. But still, I think Sieler has a lot of good value moving forward, and you'll be able to exploit him in matchups. Again, I'm not as hyped on him as the other players, but he's definitely startable. And, again, a lot of people don't know that name because he's an interior player. They're probably afraid of him.
Yeah, when you look at it, he doesn't rack up a ton of tackles, right? Interior D lineman, but right. He's getting all those little ones. If you have tackles for loss, get bonuses, that's good. Obviously sacks, and then if you have tackles or points for QB hits, which I know, talking to you, that is a category that some leagues have. He's loading the box score here. It looks like lately. So
I don't know if you know this, Joe. Typically, when you get a sack, Sleeper awards you for the QB hit and a tackle for loss. So typically you get one, you're getting the whole thing. However, if a guy runs out of bounds, like Patrick Mahomes is trying not to get hit, he runs out of bounds, the closest player to him gets a sack. He won't get all that other extra stuff. But that's usually how it plays. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if you knew that. It's a little cheat code. That's how
I did not know that. Okay. So I forgot this question. My bad. Pete Carroll's Playbook Masters. That's quite the name there. Matt Milano or Christian Roseboom rest of season. We got 2 weeks left. So what you got?
So yeah, exactly. Your Playbook Master. So you're asking for 2 weeks. So this is a 14-day. It'll expire. The coupon's going to expire right after this. Here's the thing. This is actually a neat question. Matt Milano, a lot of people have been stashing because he got injured. Since he came back from injury, looking at the stats now, 77% of snaps, 84% of snaps, 58% of snaps. That spells 2-down linebacker work to me. And when you look at the snaps, you're like, oh, okay, maybe they're just nursing him along. Maybe they're just taking it easy on him. That's not the case. When you go back and look at film, Joe, I don't pronounce their names well, but I go back and I look at film. When you go and look and you study these games, all the third downs, all the obvious passing downs, Matt Milano's coming off the field. So he's only a 2-down player. Roseboom's on the other side of this. Roseboom, and this is an excellent question, Roseboom is getting 3-down work because Spates isn't ready and Reeder has been on IR. So, yeah, your answer is Roseboom, but for people out there that have Matt Milano, be careful with that. If I'm in redrafts, I'm probably not going to play him the rest of the year. There's just too much there to consider.
All right. And next up here, we got Jordan Battle. And, of course, we got to promote the box snap count article that you put up every week. And he's in this one. Now, the numbers don't look as great as some of the other ones, but I think recency, trends kind of lean in his favor.
Look at them sexy box snaps over there, though, for real. Remember we were talking earlier this podcast, the Bengals are bad on defense. It starts going back to last year. The Bengals were pretty good last year, and the team's beating their chest, and they're thinking they're close. In order to beat teams like the Bills, teams like the Chiefs, heck, even the Ravens, they switched their defense mentality all around, and they started doing a 3-3-5 scheme. So they built this nickel. They brought guys in like Von Bell, Geno Smith. They moved Britt. They moved a couple guys around the corner. I mean, we know the whole safety dance, and we covered the safety dance in this article. I'm just kind of paraphrasing some of this. Well, in order to run a nickel, and you said it yourself how bad the Bengals have been. In order to run a nickel, you got to stop tackles. All of these guys are bad at tackles, and you have 5 of them on the field. So the defensive collapse, you could blame it, and you've seen it in the Steelers game not too long ago, okay? Geno Stone ranked 5th in the league at missed tackles. And you know what? Battle better watch himself too, because Battle missed a couple, but there's a couple other people on this team that are worse, okay? So they had to yank Von Bell out. So this is a whole entire – if this is a safety dance article, this is a safety orchestra, Joe. This is the Ninth Symphony going on right now, okay? But, yeah, Von Bell got yanked. Geno Stone is suspect. And I guess out of the 3, Battle's the better of the 3. So Battle only owned in 6% of leagues. We called this article – we had called this two or three articles ago. Battle is getting the snaps. Battle is taking the job. Battle got the job. And guess what? They need a box defender. Hence – Battle is producing. This is the first week you got to see him pop, and he achieved 10 tackles. So moving forward, this may or may not be the week, but moving forward, championship week, I'm probably going to have Battle in my lineups because he's free.
Yeah. Chad over here dropping some news here. McCormick just got injured. I assume we're jumping on. I'm guessing that's supposed to be, I think, Amir Abdullah. No. Honestly, I think I'm out on this entire Raiders offense at this point. Sadly, even Brock Bowers. If Desmond Ridder is really going to be the quarterback, this is not going well. Like I kind of called it. I had the decision to play the Falcons or the Chiefs this week in one league. Thankfully, I picked the Chiefs. Now look, the Falcons are going to shut down the Raiders and not allow them to score a lot of points, right? And I kind of knew that, but I was like, what defenses, what do they score on, right? It was, they need sacks, they need turnovers, they need, that kind of stuff. I was like, Desmond Ridder is going to throw the ball like a dozen times. This is exactly what's happening. This is bad, man.
I play in big enough leagues where I'll, throw guys in a foxhole and play them. But that's during the season when I'm trying to grind out wins during the bye weeks. I don't think I would trust any of this. For playoffs?
He said Madison. Oh, a Matt. Yeah, I got it. Oh, yeah, a Matt.
Yeah,
I can read. No, I don't. Honestly, I mean, you're super desperate. Why not? I guess he got 3 carries already, but I mean, I think the problem is that defense know Ritter can't pass the ball, so they're just going to load the box, and so there's not going to be a run game. And they're right; he can't throw the ball. I mean, 2 of his passes have gone to McCormick, and then another 2 have gone to Amir Abdullah.
right.
Goodbye, Jacoby Myers, and goodbye, Brock Bowers. It's just not going to happen the rest of the way, unfortunately. So, who knows? Hopefully, Aiden O'Connell can bounce back from that knee injury, the knee bruise or whatever that we thought was season ending. Hopefully, he can get past it. But I'm not. If it's going to be Desmond Ritter, I want nothing to do with that offense. And honestly, defenses playing them aren't going to be great. Now, individual players can do well because they're going to run the ball a lot, right? But your total defense, where you need turnovers and sacks to get points, that's not going to work for you. Last up here, we got Ugo Amadi. Sure.
I just like it when you say that name, Joe.
Sure. Sounds sexy.
I kind of like, if I may, I kind of like this new mystery order, this wheel. I just don't know what's coming up. I kind of like this. Keeps me on my toes.
Sure. I mean, you threw me like 800 names today, and I was like, I'm just gonna pick 5, and then we're gonna see what happens.
You know what's funny with Ugo is it was a question in last week's episode, if you remember. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on him and why you should have him and whatever. You see the stats on the screen. Every week he's a 90, 100% the snap getter. He gets, 7 to 9 tackles a week. There's a reason why. There's a methodology why. We explained on last week's show, if you guys want to go back and look at that. And if you don't, it's in our waiver article this week. And just to add one more fuel to the fire, this is kind of a shameless promotion for us. We do the safety dance. We're known for the box snaps. This week, Joe, we're doing slot snaps because slot snaps are important to these corners. So this week's episode, you're going to have not 1 but 2 flavors. You're going to have box snaps and you're going to have slot snaps, and they'll be featured in there. Guys like this that are in the key slot positions that are there gobbling tackles. Look at those stats, Joe. That's almost like a third linebacker on the field. I mean, you're going to win leagues. And we don't even need to play this guy in a quarterback-required leagues. You can get away with playing him as your extra DB. But we won't go into too much analysis because we want people to read the articles. We're putting a lot of work. Our IDP department, they're there with what? What do they got? They got a shoehorn and they got a trombone. But you know what they got, Joe? They got a homing pigeon. They're putting the.
I was going to say they got carrier pigeons now. I was just going to say the same thing.
So, we're over there with the Pony Express, and we're putting these out. We're putting these fresh beats out for you guys, for you kids to check them out. So check them out. Learn about Ugo and Amadi. He's up and coming, and he's putting up tons of points each week. Corey messaged me, Joe, and he's like, dude, thanks for that last week. I guess he was listening when we were on. He's like, that guy put up 20 points in my Scott Fishbowl league.
Nice. Nice. All right, man. Well, thanks for jumping in and helping on the offensive side. And
my pleasure.
Again, obviously the IDP side is always great. So before we close things out, give you the opportunity to let everybody know where they can find you, man.
You can find me here. You can find me when Joe needs me, like Superman, and I come out of a phone booth. But more importantly, you could always message me on Twitter, IDP Hunter, and I'm going to need the audience. I'm going to need the audience to help me this Christmas holiday. I need a miracle, Joe. This Kings Classic team, we're the number 1 team. The six-pack got the number 1 team against all these giant experts. And some little kid out there, Master IDP, some little kid out there, he wants to score 400 points this week, and he's coming at me next week. So even though I look like the Goliath, I'm more of the David. I'm the underguard this week. So if anybody out there plays, miracles are appreciative.
Let him score all the points this week. Get it out of the system. So he has nothing left next week, right? That's how it works?
I told Leo that. He started laughing. Yeah, get it all out of your way now. So when you play me, we're good. But yeah,
I'm gonna drop $180 in this one league, and I know next week I'm gonna score 60. Absolutely, it's gonna happen. Absolutely, it's gonna happen.
Right.
Every single year. So, all right, guys. that is it for the Week 16 waivers. Hopefully, you guys can pick up some of these players to help you in your semifinal matchups. I think semifinals for most of you. I don't know. You know, some of y'all put Week 18.
I don't agree with it, but
best of luck to you. I mean, I'll answer questions, I suppose, but I don't do a lot of studying in Week 18 because I'm done. But anyway, if you're still here, listening, watching, hit that subscribe button, the like button, follow, whatever it is, and leave those comments. We love hearing from you. Of course, jump over to fantasysixpack.net/plans, become an all-access member, get access to both of our award-winning rankings, get access to us directly on Discord, ask all your league custom questions, and let's get you to that championship. Have a good one, everybody, and good luck again. Peace.
Heck yeah.